We have minutes from June 4th and June 18th. Did you get any edits or changes, Mike?
I did not.
Anybody have anything to add now? Then I move that we approve the minutes of June 4th and June 18th as written. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our first order of business is 915 Ocean Street. This is an open hearing, and the commissioner is Corey Miles, who has not joined us yet. So I'm going to go on to the next agenda item, which is 278 Ocean Street. Also an open hearing, and Commissioner Platt is the hearing officer.
Okay. Is Mr. Vaughn here or on Zoom?
The ZBA continued this hearing until August, so we haven't received a continuation request from the jetty, but I
Assuming
believe that they would come in around that time as well.
Okay.
Unless they provide us an updated site plan beforehand.
Right. All right, so the August meeting, do you know was there a date on that? Or they just said August?
They just said August. We could continue until the first meeting in August.
Okay.
Which would be the 6th.
The 6th, okay. All right, I vote to continue this hearing until the meeting of August 6th. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Did you announce continuances?
I can, yeah, sure. We have a couple of continuances or withdrawals, in case anybody is here for the following matters. 37 Malden Avenue we have a request to withdraw that notice of intent, so we will not be discussing that tonight. And 91 Old Colony Lane is continuing until September 17th. I think those are the only two. Okay. Next up is 12 Edward Road. And where are we? Okay. This is a new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 9th, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by Brian Rhodes of 12 Edwards Road. And Commissioner Lake is the hearing officer.
Thank you. Mike, have all the administrative requirements been satisfied?
Yes, all administrative requirements have been met.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to present on this project? No? Anyone on Zoom?
I do not see anybody on Zoom. I can speak on this project if you'd like. The homeowners proposing to install an irrigation system all within the disturbed lawn area at 12 Edwards Road. It would be to the right of the home here, as you can see on the home side of these conservation markers. Directly abutting this property is a parcel that does contain an isolated vegetated wetland. So the homeowners filed for a request for determination of applicability for this work.
Did you have any comments about this project?
It's a fairly straightforward project. I believe that the following conditions should be stated on their cover letter to ensure best management practices are followed. Before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits and to seek guidance from the administrator agent for any changes in the work activities.
I had no issues with this project. I mean, as you can see, it's already a disturbed area. The lawn already looks like it's well watered, so I think an irrigation system might even be beneficial to kind of control, the amount of water that's being infiltrated into that area to further protect the wetland area. Did any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
I just have a question. I don't know if you can answer this, Mike. I know there has been a conversation about a clogged culvert.
Yes.
Has anything been done about that through DPW or,
To my knowledge, it has not.
okay,
There's been a recent change in the DPW engineering department, but I can certainly follow up with that.
thank you.
Yep.
Is there anyone in the public or anyone on Zoom that has any comments as to this project? Okay, hearing none, I'll make a motion to close the hearing and issue a determination of applicability with a +5 and a -2. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Next, we have 1810 Ocean Street, another new hearing. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, to consider the request for a determination of applicability filed for by Mr. LaRusse for 1810 Ocean Street, and the hearing officer is Commissioner O'Donnell.
Thank you. Michael, taxes confirmed?
Yes, all administrative requirements have been met.
Okay. Is there anyone here to talk about this project? Okay. So I was out and I visited the site. Essentially, it's pretty straightforward. The owner of the Marsh restaurant is taking over the vacated building, one building over, two buildings over, I guess, next to the scuba shop. And there's a good picture of it. That's the parking lot. He wants to basically clear out the vines that are overtaking a fence, although the fence sort of ends to the left where there's a, they call it a patio, I don't know how much of a patio it is. The fence that he talks about is right where Mike has that little pointer right there to the left. And there's basically brush that's overgrown that fence, and in that area, he wants to basically create a clearer sight line out to the marsh. It borders the salt marsh. So it looks pretty clean and straightforward to me. So there's, Mike, do you have any comments, thoughts on the property?
Yes, so this is, there's a lot of overgrown vegetation here along the back of the property, which is fairly common with the businesses along Ocean Street in this area. And then there's a rock type trap wall that runs down to the marsh. There is a fair amount of debris at the bottom of the slope, as Commissioner O'Donnell's noted before. But it may be beneficial to condition and permit the removal of that material. I'm willing to guess once they thin out the vegetation a bit, they'd want to remove the rubbish and debris at the bottom of the,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the marsh. Additionally, there's some pretty sizable trees here. I would like to condition that, and up to the commission's discretion, but anything above maybe 6 inches in diameter at breast height be left, and then smaller nuisance vegetation be cut.
Yeah. I mean, the RDA form basically stipulates clearing vegetation on the fence line to provide a clear view of the marsh on the property line. I'm guessing that they may want to be using that patio back there, which I'm sure they would want to, clear off the vegetation to get a clear shot. I was curious if they were going to leave the, the fence up. It's a wrought iron, a chain link fence. And I also wanted to ask them about the clearing of the garbage and debris, which I think Mike said. I got a sense they probably would want to clear that out if they're looking for a nice, view of the
Yes.
of the marsh. There's a big metal cylinder back there too. I don't know. I guess people the area on the right was sort of, I guess, where the dumpster were, so people might have just been going up there and throwing stuff all over the side, so. But I think it's pretty straight. I think the other thing we may want to consider, at the Marsh property, they do have conservation markers. There are no conservation markers there, so that might be something you might want to consider when we go forward, so. Okay, any questions from the commissioners, or?
I just have a question. Are we all comfortable with this being kind of permitted through an RDA? I mean, I feel as if being a commercial property, them also, I think we've tried to steer clear of allowing this type of clearing, because then it snowballs into a lot larger efforts that have kind of bit us in the past a little bit.
So I guess it would have been nice if someone was here to present it. I was out there and, there was no one to talk to.
Yeah. That's
The
all.
language in the RDA, clearly says vegetation to be cleared along the fence and along the fence line. So they mentioned that's what they want to clear, is where the fence is. And it's, it's pretty thick along the fence, but like I said, the fence ends like way on the far left corner of that picture, where there is something that they referred to as a patio. So, I guess, again, it would be nice if someone was here to answer a question, because, again, they clear the vegetation on the fence ends there, there's vegetation that continues beyond the fence towards where the dumpster were, so you can see, so the picture there, basically, the scribbling there, goes beyond the patio, which is where the fence is, so, but I don't get the sense they want to clear any of the trees or brush. I mean, it was just, it was just a situation I had in my backyard where the vines just overtook,
Right.
the fence, so. I don't know, anybody have any other comments or
Well,
reaction?
it's hard to tell from the picture, but how much is growing behind the fence and how much is growing in front of the fence?
So again,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can only,
it's-
so the words are vegetation to be cleared along the fence line.
I
Yeah.
drove through there, but I didn't, I should have looked more carefully.
The other thing that I was curious about building on the RDA is I believe it's all in a floodplain, right? And it's buffer zone for salt marsh, probably?
It's a salt marsh,
Buffer
and it's a,
zone.
Is it worth getting this kind of, have a clear understanding of the actual resource areas we're allowing this to be done into? Because I know those properties kind of drop off steeply to the salt marsh back there.
yeah,
so.
there's a huge drop-off beyond.
Yeah.
I just feel as if we've had some applicants come back or enforcement orders because this was allowed, and then,
And
I'm not trying to.
Can Mike, did you actually have discussion with the owners?
Yes, I did.
So, do they basically want to clear the invasives there, the vines that are?
It sounded like they just wanted to clean up the smaller type brush there. They didn't mention anything about cutting large trees. It sounded more of like just kind of a general landscaping and clearing out some nuisance species.
How far back are they going behind the fence? That's not
Can't be
clear,
very
right?
far because it drops right
You
down.
can't go very
Top
far
of the
back,
slope.
you know.
Yeah.
And, again, I went into the marsh and asked if the owner was there. He wasn't. I talked to the manager, who basically sent me over to the spot. And it was a little bit, like I said, a little bit confusing, because it does say fence, but the fence ends where that patio is. But then he uses the language cleared along the fence line. So, I guess you could say the fence line, oh, the picture's gone, ran from, it was like a big cylinder block. Oh, there, is that it there, Mike?
So it does appear like the fence at the top of the slope would be outside of the floodplain, but it would
Oh, okay.
certainly be within buffer zone to salt marsh.
Mm-hmm. And it does say that it will not involve machinery beyond hand tools, but a chainsaw is a hand tool. If they're, I don't know, if they are intending to cut down some of the,
You can do a lot
Larger.
with a handheld chainsaw.
Or we could, continuing an RDA is obviously not something we typically do, but we could do that just to have
It could be done.
Get more
representation.
information.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yes.
I'm sure they could explain themselves if they were here.
I
Very
also, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I believe behind the Marsh, the restaurant next door, they did do some cutting.
They did.
Andrew Stewart brought it to our attention.
Yes.
I don't know how extensive that was.
It was essentially clearing nuisance species from that trap rock, similar
Yeah.
type scope of work as this one.
So, yeah, I think we could use some clarification.
I agree with you, I mean, because, like you say, someone goes in, we've had these cases, someone goes in and they're just clearing the vegetation on the fence line, the next thing you know,
All those trees
trees
are down.
disappear.
Yeah.
And if you're in the Marsh's parking lot and you look out, they have a beautiful, clear, unobstructed view of the marsh. So I don't know if he was thinking he wanted to replicate that here. But, again, it's unfortunate no one is here to answer these questions and clarify what it is exactly they want to do. So I'm open to what do you want to do? You want to continue it, or, okay?
I would,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
We can continue in RDA. We don't usually, but there's nothing that says we can't.
Okay. And I guess, Mike, you'll reach out to them to basically let them
Yes.
know what our questions were, and,
Absolutely.
okay, so I make a motion that we continue this hearing to the next date, which is what, July?
July 23rd.
23rd? Okay, do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor?
aye.
Just thought that was gonna be easy.
Okay. All right, now we have 63 Bay Ave. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed by David McGah at 63 Bay Avenue, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Lake.
Thank you. Mike, can you confirm whether all administrative requirements have been satisfied?
Yes, all administrative requirements have been met.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to present this project? You can come up and take a seat up here. You could just please state your name for the record.
Douglas LeBon.
You kind of want to go over what the project is?
Yeah, basically, there's an existing deck there now. It's 24 by 8. We're gonna make it 10 by 24 and just relocate the steps like it shows there. And we're gonna put the footings back in, what are supposed to be footings, in the same spot, but we're gonna be using diamond pier, so there's no real penetrations. So we're basically just looking for permission to use the diamond pier footings for the project.
Okay. Yeah, I visited the property. I saw, I mean, this stuff needs to be
Yeah, it needs to be done,
replaced.
yes.
The building commissioner had a comment about this project. He said on their plans, they show a concrete pad at the base of the stairs, but the code requires a frost step footing, like a sonotube or diamond pier. Slabs like that for stairs are not recommended in
We can-
areas like
We can
Bay
add
Ave.
2 more diamond pier at the stairs.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, I think that would resolve that issue. Mike, did you have any comments?
Yes, I would suggest the following on the cover letter for this project. Ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, and to see the conservation administrator or agent for work beyond the approved work activities.
Oh, are there gonna be any changes to the area underneath the deck, or is that gonna remain the same?
It's just the same.
Okay.
It's gonna cantilever out 2 feet.
But as far as the any material underneath the.
No,
deck,
just leaving the
okay.
sand and everything like that, yep.
Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments?
I would just state that if you can amend the plan to show that you're going to
The diamonds?
do the diamond piers and not the slab.
Yep.
Is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom that has any comment with respect to this project? Hearing none, I'm gonna make a motion to close the hearing, subject, and make a motion to issue a determination of suitability with a +5 and a -2, subject to the conditions noted by Mr. Seeley. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. 156 Nantasket Street. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, to consider the request for determination of applicability filed for 156 Nantasket Street. And
Just give it to
the hearing officer is Commissioner O'Donnell.
Okay, sorry for that. That's,
What do we have?
I think that's, wait a minute. which-
Wait,
I got
156,
the wrong one.
That's 1810.
Yeah, this was mine. So these are mine.
oh, okay, I don't know why I was
All
telling you
right,
to give
no
it to
problem.
Jesse.
Got me confused too.
We didn't do the first one, Corey.
Okay.
We were, yeah, wait, I had to put that aside
Okay.
until you got here, but we'll go through the rest first.
Okay, now that we got that, so, Michael, taxes confirmed, administrative
Yes,
requirements?
all administrative requirements have been met.
Okay, this is the resource area, the buffer zone to a salt marsh. It's the floodplain AE10. Are you going to present the project?
Yes,
Please identify yourself.
hello, I am Shane McGlone. I'm representing the Reynolds, who were the owners up until about 24 hours ago. So luckily, they have enough land over there that we can sort of jam a new septic system in all the way up against the property line. Right now, they have, 2 cesspools that are in the water table, and our proposed system that's been approved by the health department shows a 1,500-gallon septic tank, a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and essentially an 8x35 leaching field,
Okay,
which is slightly mounded to get above the water table.
okay. Yeah, I was out there the other day. It is going to be a tight fit.
Yes,
And
sir.
I think there's fence, right? There's fence bordering
There
that
is.
corner. And then a bunch of, like, what, 8, 9, 10 trees are going to have to come down?
There's some trees along the.
They're marked,
Yes.
yeah.
Yep.
I was counting. And there were some things that weren't marked that I thought might have to come down as well. It's going to be fitting there. The Board of Health has
Yes, sir.
approved the project. I mean, it looked pretty straightforward to me. Obviously, whenever you're getting rid of a cesspool with a state-of-the-art septic system, it's
Sure.
a step in the right direction. Michael, do you have any thoughts on the project?
Yes. The upgrades to the septic system would include the following: a 1,500-gallon tank, septic tank, a 1,000-gallon pump chamber, and an 8.5-foot by 35-foot leaching field. A portion of the leaching field will be within the 100-foot setback, and the property is within an AE10 flood zone. I would suggest the following conditions: ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, to see the conservation administrator or agent for guidance beyond the approved work activities, and to have a siltation barrier in place throughout the duration of work, as noted on the site plan.
Okay. Any of the commissioners have any questions or comments? Anybody in the audience or on Zoom have any comments? Okay, so hearing no questions or comments, I'm going to, because the work is subject to the review of the Marshfield Conservation Commission and the work described is within the buffer zone, but will not remove, fill, or dredge or alter the subject jurisdiction. The work does not require a notice of intent. I'd like to make a motion to close the hearing and call for a vote with a finding of +5, -2, with the special conditions stipulated by Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. 12 Johnson Terrace. This is an after-the-fact application. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, to consider the after-the-fact request for determination of applicability filed for 12 Johnson Terrace. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Platt.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a after-the-fact RDA request for restoration of drainage ditch. The work is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage in a floodplain zone AE 9. Is there somebody here that wants to present the situation? Anyone on Zoom here to present this? Do you want to speak to this, Mike?
I can speak to this. So this project originated as a notice of violation. I got a complaint from somebody in the neighborhood about water backing up onto their property. Took a look at some imagery of the drainage ditch, and it was clear that some fill and landscaping had occurred within the drainage ditch associated with 12 Johnson Terrace that runs behind both Johnson Terrace and MacArthur Lane. Some fill was brought in and put down in the middle of the drainage ditch. As you can see from the site visit photo here, it also appears that possibly a few ornamental grasses were planted within the layout of this ditch as well. So to restore this ditch back into functioning order, the fill brought into site would have to be taken out, and any of these plantings that the homeowner would wish to keep would have to be placed on the homeward side of this fence that they've put up in their property. It's essentially like a temporary fence. You can buy the stakes at like Ocean State Job Lot and pound them in with a hammer, and then use this garden type fencing around it. It's not necessarily a permanent fence, but they did put a fence up there as well.
Right. And I'm sorry, I did not confirm that administrative requirements have been met on this.
Yes, all administrative
Thank you.
requirements have been met.
Thank you. Okay, yeah, I also went out there, and it does look like there's been some topsoil, some fill put into that drainage ditch. I spoke with the homeowner at 19 MacArthur Lane. She just reiterated the problem with that ditch in general not being maintained. And obviously the fill isn't helping the situation. So without, I guess that's does anyone in the commission have any comments or questions about the work? It's pretty straightforward. Without Mr. Hanlon being here, we can still move forward with the permitting, right?
Yes,
I mean-
I've had a meeting with Mr. Hanlon. This is what we've discussed as
Yeah.
the likely outcome of the project would be removing that fill from the drainage ditch, relocating any plantings that you want to keep, and to essentially just stay out of that area landscaping wise.
Right, in this situation, we wouldn't require conservation, would conservation markers be beneficial here? I mean, it's not really. So the-
Yeah, it's a good point. Typically, we don't see conservation markers
No,
going
no.
around drainage ditches.
Right.
But in this case, where there's no permanent fence, an argument could be made to establish some for a future reference.
Yeah, I don't know, go ahead.
Just to clarify, the resource area is the vegetated wetland?
Yes,
And How far is the ditch from it, or is the ditch
the ditch would be, since it's a low spot in collecting water, that would be part of the bordering vegetated wetland itself.
okay, but it's not in the floodplain?
I believe it is in the floodplain.
It is in the flow.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, that would be the consideration, that you can't alter lands within the floodplain, you know, that would cause detriment to neighboring property.
Yes.
right?
Yeah, the property is in an
The-
AE flood zone.
The AE9, yeah. Yeah, the salt marsh is just, I don't,
It's at the end of the street.
yeah, it's not far from there at all.
Within
Um,
100, but is it within 25 or?
It's
I know, I wish,
I think it's a moot point if it's, if
it's
it's.
past the
exactly.
25.
I think that whole area is in the flood zone, isn't it?
Sorry, Sam?
That whole area is in the flood zone, I
Yeah.
think? Yeah.
it is, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just assumed it was.
Yeah, I guess so.
Is there anyone on Zoom or in the public that have any comments, questions on this? Okay. Mike, do you want to list out any of your comments here on this?
Yes, ensure best management practices are followed before commencing the work, obtain all pertinent permits, and to seek guidance from the conservation administrator or agent for guidance beyond the approved work activity, and also to send photos of the completed work to myself or the agent.
Okay. Okay, good. All right. Do you have a question?
I do.
Yep.
Mike, the access form and the fee?
Oh, you're assigned right now.
Yes, the homeowner later came back and paid the,
Yeah.
paid the after-the-fact filing fee. He was very adamant and refused to sign the site access form. I gained access to the other side of the drainage ditch through a different property
Okay.
that allowed me to access the site. It's a fairly small section of the drainage ditch, and I'd be comfortable with
Yeah, I'm
with
fine.
photos.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I just was curious on that.
It is atypical, though. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yep, sorry, I didn't explain that. Okay, any other comments before I move forward? No? Okay, then I move to close the hearing and issue a determination of applicability with a positive 5 and a negative 2. Can I have a second, please?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. "34 Marginal Street. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, to consider the notice of intent filed for the Sailors Valentine Trust at 34 Marginal Street rear. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Miles.
Okay. So this is a notice of intent for proposed shoreline stabilization and beach nourishment in land subject to coastal storm flowage, riverfront, coastal beach, and salt marsh. Shellfish area too. Mike, can you confirm all administrative requirements?
Yes, all administrative requirements have been met.
Okay. I believe Mr. Shanahan is here. Did you have anybody else on Zoom that,
My consultant, Mark Burgess, is on his way. He's going to join us shortly, but I can fill in the meantime.
okay, yeah. Just to let you know, I was late because I was at the site. So you just want to...
Sure. Thank you for visiting today. I know you've been there, Craig's been there, Mike's been there. It's an unusual piece of property. In around 1950, the federal government, through the Army Corps of Engineer, took the harbor dredgings and raised the property by about 4 feet with dredging spoils and cobble, and so it doesn't look like marsh in most of it. It's largely phragmites, high tide bush, and some trees and dead trees out there. when we originally filed for the notice of intent to do the dock and boat lift in 1921, what we're proposing in this notice of intent was part of that project. At the time, the conservation agent felt strongly he wanted to separate the restoration of the riverbank and restoring the beach from the dock project, so we kind of went with his lead on that, and it's taken until now to get this project in front of you. So what we're proposing is to reestablish the riverbank that broke, and it primarily broke in the bombogenesis storm of around 2018, when the tide came in about 4 feet across the whole property and didn't go out at low tide. And the second tide came in, and then when it went out, it flushed. And it took the riverbank and a large portion of the beach. And basically, every single tide since then, we've been losing sand and elevation. So in the last couple of years, it's probably dropped about 3 feet from what it was when we built the dock. And what we're simply proposing to do is to reconnect the riverbank. The stakes in place, and I think you have photos to show where the connections would be with Koya logs, very similar to the Naomi Road project, and backfill that with sand and get plantings in place to hold it all together. I know you received a comment letter from the, was it Division of Marine Fisheries?
Yes.
Okay. They're wrong, and we'll address that in writing. So any of those comment letters we'll speak to when Mark gets to it. Any questions for me?
Not yet. Okay, so I just want to acknowledge that we did receive that comment letter from Division of Marine Fisheries, and which states that the project site lies within MAP shellfish habitat for razor clam, softshell clam, and blue mussel. And subtidal waters within the project site have been deemed suitable habitat for these species. And land containing shellfish is deemed significant to the interest of the Wetlands Protection Act. So they further go on to say about the site has also been identified as diadromous fish passage for migration and spawning river for blueback herring, alewife, and American eel. And the Green Harbor River provides spawning habitat for winter flounder. They provide some other comments about salt marsh, and they say that since the construction of the pier, it appears the area has experienced an increased level of erosion and loss of salt marsh. Mass Division of Marine Fisheries does not support the proposed project at this time and recommends considering other alternatives to restore salt marsh. So they say additionally, a site visit and an interagency coordination call may be helpful. So there's that. And then we also have some comments from the building commissioner, which I can't find in front of me at the moment, but they said something about, since this is a coastal wetlands district, which is a zone in the Marshfield zoning bylaw, it would require a variance from the ZBA for the filling of land in the coastal wetlands district. He also states that this activity is currently prohibited by zoning, and from my own research, it appears that the increased human use over the past 5 to 10 years have created the erosion of this location. So,
So we had a conference call with the building commissioner and the floodplain commissioner, I think about a week ago, and we we discussed going forward with the zoning variance application, so we're working on that.
Okay, so do you plan on, I don't think we can move forward unless we have a zoning variance? Is that true, Mike?
I believe it would be wise to wait for that zoning variance before moving forward. Additionally, given the letter from DMF and also the comments from Greg DeCesar from Mass DEP, it would be beneficial to solicit comments from the harbor master, who's also the shellfish constable.
Okay.
Very familiar with the site.
In addition, we did receive comments from DEP that a Chapter 91 permit would be required for this activity too. Mike, did you have any comments on this?
Yes, as you can see, the applicant is proposing to place about 203 cubic yards of fill/nourishment to this highlighted area here, and it's proposed to be supported by these coir logs as well. This amount of fill would need the variance from the zoning department. And this is the area roughly where the coir logs would go. And then this area behind roughly would be the area to be filled.
Are there any comments from the commissioners at this point?
I've got one. Mike, it references, was it 11 Naomi quite a bit?
Yes.
I was around when that one was permitted, but I can't recall. I recall using the coir logs. Was there any fill associated with that one?
I would have to take a deeper look into that project folder, but to my knowledge, there was no fill associated with that, or minimal fill compared to the scope.
I think they had backfill to do the plantings within.
To facilitate plantings.
Yeah, it wasn't as extensive as
Okay.
mine, but.
That, I believe, is a separate resource area.
Naomi?
A different resource area?
So.
I'm not sure that's a valid comparison.
The other thing I would want to consider is when the town did beach nourishment offshore, it wasn't allowed in the area of the Green Harbor Channel, because they were afraid of it shoaling in, the amount of dredging that has to be done there. This would even be closer to it, so I think that's something that needs to be considered.
What year was the dock actually constructed?
It was 2021.
2021. Can you put up those,
Yes.
the aerial mappings of the several years there? So that's now.
Yeah, this was from April of this year. And then we have October of 2020.
So there's been significant erosion since the dock.
Every tide. Started with bombogenesis, every single tide since then. Sliding from west to east.
Yeah, and what's the date on that one, Mike?
This one is May of 2015.
Okay, so,
This was before it looks like the cart path was established.
I have a question. What is like the purpose of this?
Of what?
The purpose of the proposed work?
Just to restore the riverbank and put the beach back together. I'm losing beach every single day. And it makes the dock less and less accessible. When that dock was built, the ramp landed on the ground. Now it's up to my hip.
I think this is also, I don't know if this is permittable based on a lot of the information we have regardless, but even if we were to consider this, I think it's kind of the nature of the property, unfortunately, I mean, as we've dealt with all the beaches in town, it's a constant battle with erosion, really, unfortunatately.
I think, is this your consultant?
Yes, hi, it's Mark Burgess, Shorefront Consulting. You're on.
Putting all this there, it's kind of good.
Let me get my notes.
Into the harbor, which we need to dredge.
Yeah, that's what, I just don't,
I'm having trouble hearing you over the air conditioner.
it's all right. I just don't see, my point is, I hear the concern, and it's very clear based on the aerial imagery as well as kind of your description of it. And I think that's probably true regarding the tides, and I just don't see this area, this proposed work, like I said, if it's permittable or not, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, even if it were to be permittable, I don't see the installation of this fill or nourishment being a long-term solution to this. And I think likely, as Commissioner O'Donnell just mentioned, it likely will probably wash into an area that the town likely has to dredge anyway. I just, it's kind of the nature of this area of the town, unfortunately, and I hear the concern, but I just don't necessarily see the net benefit of doing this from our standpoint. And I hear the dock issue, I completely understand that. I just, unfortunately, that's not, the way we view projects isn't for recreation. That's one of the difficult
It
things.
seemed like rocket science. If you had a riverbank that was holding everything together, and the riverbank breaks, and you're putting it back together, it was
I think it's-
working before.
It's a little bit more than just a riverbank, though, where it's a tidally influenced area. It's not just a riverbank. It's influenced by the tides and the ocean as well, so.
I'm not following you, because there was a riverbank, it did work,
Yeah.
it broke, we want to fix it.
Yeah, can I step in here?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are you in the process? I assume you described the project a little bit, and now we're at comments from the board, is that it? And Sam, are you the first person to comment, or?
I might be the last.
We're having a discussion.
We were just
Commissioner
talking.
Miles is the hearing officer,
Okay.
and she has gone through it, and now we are
Visited the site today, just.
Yeah,
discussing.
Have
Yeah.
any of you, have the rest of you been to the site?
No.
I have not.
No.
Rick has, Michael has.
Mike has, because we were there with him.
I was back when it was permitted the first time. I haven't been back this time.
I was there then also.
Okay. Obviously, it's advantageous to get out there and take a look now to see what it's like even since the dock was installed. But the reason that Mr. Shanahan wanted to do the project was it's a restoration. It's not it's a voluntary project. It's not part of any mitigation for another project or anything like that. We see the environmental benefits where, yeah, you can let nature run its course. Eventually, he's going to have to extend the ramp on the dock landwards, because right at the moment, he practically has to jump up to get there. But the point that we were trying to make was that all that sand is going into the Cut River and eventually into the Green River. It's burying shellfish habitat. The sediment eventually is going to have to be dredged out, yes. And that was one of the options that we looked at. We said, well, why don't we just go get the sand from where it is now and put it back from where it came. That is like a $30,000 addition to the cost of the project. And the cost benefit just didn't weigh out. It ends up being very expensive.
And that was at the suggestion of Mike Seal, your agent. When we looked into the cost of it, because of the access to the site and things like that, it's just cost prohibitive to do it that way. Anything over 100 yards requires a water quality certificate. That's not a huge deal. It's a couple of soil samples and such at the state level. But the point was that if we don't do anything, the problem that is there now is going to continue. And that erosion on either side is you're going to get what we call flanking erosion, and the marsh is going to start falling off. And I don't think anybody in this room wants that to happen. So the idea was to put the sand back, and of course, you can't just put it there. I would say normal beach nourishment projects, you can nourish the beach at a 10-to-1 slope, and it hangs around for a while. Sometimes it stays for a long time, and you periodically can nourish based on trigger point and things like that. That's not the case here. The area that is bowled out and eroded is a concentration of wave energy. I didn't introduce myself, so Mark Burgess of Shorefront Consulting. I'm an ocean engineer by degree. It's what I was trained for, coastal processes and river currents and ocean currents and all of that sort of stuff. So when you get a concentrated area like this, it gets worse and worse as it opens up because all that energy just gets concentrated in that area. The peat edge of the marsh, it absorbs some wave energy, and you're going to get a little bit of erosion there. It would take a big storm to whack a large amount of the marsh off. But this area has no marsh. It's got an old peat edge. If you were out there, you would see it. And that's where we want to put the fiber rolls, right along that edge, because that's kind of a hardened base. If you just put the nourishment out there, might last a season. You know, one storm's just going to carry it out to the river where it doesn't belong, and that has a negative impact on those resource areas. So if you read through the narrative and the alternatives analysis, we're looking at the do-nothing option continues, in our opinion, to cause damage to the environment, to the shellfish habitat, filling in the river. The Cut River, you can walk across it at low tide now anyway, and that's only going to get worse. So Mr. Shanahan was just trying to take a situation that is naturally occurring, but restore the beach back to at a certain point. We're not even offering to restore it back to the 2020 levels of the dock. We're about a foot below that. The area behind the fiber rolls can be planted. I would not attempt to grow salt marsh there. It's too dynamic. But the reason for the fiber rolls is because of the regulations. For one, we can't put a hard structure there because it's not protecting a dwelling. So the regulations won't allow us to do that. So we're limited to soft solutions. You can use, the fiber rolls are great. And remember that we modeled this project directly from 11 Naomi Road, which was approved in 2017 by this board, and it was a 5-0-0 vote. So everybody was in favor of it then, but for some reason now, there's a whole different look at it. And this was almost a carbon copy of that project with the same reasons, the same effects, and the same solution. And somehow it's different. Now, and admittedly, I don't know much more about Naomi Road other than looking at it, but it's a fiber roll project. It was shorefront protection, and that one was to protect the house. And I looked in the minutes, it looks like it was originally proposed as a revetment, and that didn't fly, so they backed off to a soft solution. But it's a perfect example of these kinds of solutions that, if they're maintained, they do work. Since this is voluntary, it's only in Mr. Shanahan's best interest to maintain this project. Why would spend all that money and then watch it wash away? It's not a good idea. It's not a win-win for anybody here in this room. So if it was forced on somebody as mitigation, those are the kind of projects that get let go and that I get concerned about, because it looks good on paper, but unless you keep up with them, they're going to be back to their natural state in 10 years. I don't believe that's the case here. Let me see. We've had other comments I guess we have to go to zoning. There's the floodplain issue, and did you talk about the conversation we had with the building inspector?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm not sure why that's different. He says he kind of basically missed it back then. It wasn't under his radar, the 11 Naomi Road project. Because he says any kind of fill in the floodplain is not allowed. I'm like, it's not for a building. This is beach nourishment. It's different than the intent, I think. So I'm sorry to be long-winded, but when regulations are written, they're written a lot of times for a certain purpose. And a lot of the regulations, especially in the floodplain, are written for development of a site development for a house, and with your setbacks and all of that. I get it. And they don't necessarily focus on shorefront erosion or the issues, the environmental issues and natural occurrences of ocean processes. It's just not on their radar because it's not a great percentage of the projects that they see. So when somebody says, well, you can't fill in a floodplain, okay, if you're doing it for a house, I get it. Nourishment, can't avoid that terminology, but beach nourishment is generally a good thing. The only time beach nourishment is a bad thing is if you are nourishing an area that has shellfish in it, or you have fronting salt marsh, which we don't have. If you overnourish, that nourishment washes in and buries the salt marsh, and it can only compensate for about a foot of elevation a year. It buries the salt marsh, wipes it out. So there are cases where nourishment is a bad thing. I do not believe that this is one of them. So I guess I'm interested to hear why this project is so different than 11 Naomi Road. That would help make some clarifications for me. With that, I'll open it back up to the board.
Do you want to respond, Corey?
So I wasn't here when Naomi Road was permitted. But as far as I know, that the Naomi Road project put the fiber rolls directly onto the bank and didn't put fill behind them. So they didn't try to extend the beach area. They just put them on the bank to stop the house from falling in. But I could be wrong. Do you recall?
Comparing this to Naomi Road, I believe, is apples and oranges. It was a different resource area, and yes, it is not the same as this.
Okay.
They
Yeah.
didn't put fill behind the rolls, they just laid them up against something?
They just up against the bank.
Okay.
So it was a much steeper, higher elevation. So that's why they didn't need to put fill there, so it was just anchored directly into the bank.
Okay. As far as your comment about extending the beach goes all the way to the river now. If we put the fiber rolls in, you're actually gonna you're gonna have much less beach to deal with. The beach will be in whatever's left in front of the fiber rolls, really, because behind them will be elevated a little bit above mean high water. So it could be beach, but you're gonna have less usable beach because the fiber rolls are a barrier to the sand and to people, unless you jump over them.
So you're saying the area behind the fiber rolls would not be beach?
Technically, it's certainly land subject to coastal zone flowage. If we're filling it level, so it wouldn't have a slope. It's above mean high water, so the coastal beach is usually between mean high, there's no coastal bank here, that's where it makes it a little bit difficult. It could be considered coastal beach, the whole thing. It is now.
Okay. So if it's coastal beach, the whole thing,
Yeah, we're not changing the
Then-
resource area.
so you're saying that you want to put the fiber rolls across where the two green
Flags.
Mhm.
flags are,
Yeah.
and then fill behind that, and then just leave it as dirt?
You're looking at this? I borrowed this from my cat, so I have to give it back.
Okay.
Oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work on the screen.
Ah, it doesn't work on the screen, huh?
So I'll raise my voice, but not in anger. We're going right from point to point, there, wherever the other one is around over here. So all we're trying to do is recreate this edge right back here. Nothing goes beyond this pole. This is all left the way it is. So the fiber rolls blend into this slope here, they blend into that slope, and then we fill probably about level to that mark all the way back. Because the beach used to be up to here. It's not anymore.
Or was it salt marsh before?
There wasn't any salt marsh there before.
Okay.
And I wanted to address that. At the last minute, Division of Marine Fisheries sent us a comment letter, and I replied because while I appreciate the fact that they did it very quickly, they completely missed the assessment of the area. And it's from their 2000 comment letter to when the dock was being licensed. They mentioned that there was salt marsh under the dock. There's never been salt marsh under this dock, never. Or maybe 20, 30 years ago, I don't know. But when the dock was put in, there was no salt marsh underneath it, ever. So they misinterpreted that and then carried it forward, alleging that this project, that the dock resulted in a loss of salt marsh, which is completely wrong. So I respectfully sent them a reply to ask them to look at it again and based on that there isn't any marsh, and just reassess it based on it as a nourishment project and see what they think. And I guess Mike and Corey, I believe, got a copy of my response, maybe, certainly
I
Mike.
haven't seen it.
This was all last minute today, so I probably didn't respond to DMF North until 4:30 or 5.
Yeah, I didn't even see their letter until,
I can,
About
I have
5
a copy of
o'clock.
it here if you'd like.
oh, no, I have a copy too.
Oh,
So,
okay.
okay.
But
so
anyway,
I guess,
they missed the mark, and I asked them to reassess, so we'll have to wait for that. And we still have zoning to deal with, and the floodplain. I'm sorry, continue, go ahead.
so, since we have I think we have a little bit of hesitation based on the comments that we have received from DEP and DMF. And I'm not sure this design as you propose it is going to resolve those comments. So I might suggest redesigning it, so if you want to keep the fiber rolls in the design, maybe just placing them in the area where the ramp is and planting as much grass in the area behind it and
Okay.
revegetating it so that you can at least keep that area in place, but it would alleviate the comment because there wouldn't be any fill.
Well, no matter what we do, well, first of all, the whole purpose of meeting with you, with the board tonight, was to get your opinions of what you think of the property, of the project. We know we have other agencies to go through as well, but we wanted to bring these comments. We know we're going to continue. That was always the goal. We just wanted to see what you thought about it so far, and then see what the other agencies, boards, whatever, consider, and then we'll come back, and if we have to modify it or bring it back a little bit, we can. I want to caution you that the only reason it goes out where it does is because that's the shortest distance between the two marshes, the two marsh edges, sorry. If we make it any narrower than that, now all we've done is just open the gates for the water to come in beside and wipe it back out again. It'll be useless. You've got to connect the marsh to the marsh, or it's just going to go away. There's no way to hold it. You make a little pocket around the ramp, so and restore it there, but that becomes pretty much a de minimis project with very little advantage, other than he doesn't have to jump to get up to his dock. I'd rather see just an extra little bit of step there to compensate than go to anything else. So this is kind of an all or nothing.
I think any
Approach.
shorter solution, it would just wash around and you
Yeah.
get the same conversation again.
We don't want that. I'm one for doing this right the first time, doing the proper maintenance when it needs to be done. That's the focus of these designs. They all require maintenance. They're not a set it and forget it solution. But anyway,
May I make a comment, Cory?
Yes, please.
You are referring to this as restoration. I do not believe this in any way meets the definition of an ecological restoration
well,
proposal.
it's not filed as an ecological restoration.
No,
but it
and
is
I
filed-
think calling it a restoration is incorrect terminology.
How is that, may I ask?
You are proposing, unless I'm missing something, you're proposing no planting. An ecological restoration puts the area back the way it was before it was degraded,
Fair, yeah?
okay? Putting a wall of coir logs bears no resemblance to anything that was there before.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I don't think the term restoration is applicable here.
Well, the idea was to restore the beach elevation. The area behind the fiber rolls is above mean high water. It could be, certainly could be planted with some beach grass. There wasn't any vegetation there since I've been on the project. So generally, if Mother Nature doesn't allow the other surrounding vegetation to grow in, we're looking to where, you look to where you see it's trying to encroach in and multiply, but I don't see that here. So generally, if Mother Nature hasn't put it there, I don't try to put it there. But we could certainly plant behind the fiber rolls. We can't do anything in front of them, but we could certainly plant behind them. The beach
Typically,
grass.
vegetating is the surest way to stabilize and restore.
That's the intention.
It is.
And I think the plan actually shows that.
Some,
I'm going to have spartina or other appropriate plantings to hold it all together once it's built.
right. That can certainly be done, yes. I would not recommend trying to do marsh plantings. It's a lot more complicated, and like I said, nature doesn't seem like they want it there, so I wasn't gonna fight them. Yeah. So there's a number of ways, there are some changes that can be made. You have to start somewhere.
Oh, absolutely. No, I'm
You can go a little bit lower. There'd be less fill. If you go a little bit lower, now you've got wash, though. You've got it over, it's gonna get overwashed in, at this point, the elevation that's designed, it would get overwashed in storm tides, which seem to be becoming more frequent. So that's gonna move things around above the roll. So there's a reason, there's exact reasons why it's designed the way it is. But it's designed to be just above mean high water, so that any other floodwaters, hopefully, they're just sort of spilling in and out and not, you know. If we get it too low, then you're subject to the day-to-day tidal action. It's just gonna suck it out. But we can look into stuff like that.
So how would it be, how are you proposing to anchor it if it's subject to that much?
The fiber rolls?
Yeah,
The standard, for what I've done on Cape Cod, the standard is you use these duckbill anchors with stainless steel cables. They're embedded 5 feet into good soil. And a duckbill anchor, a DB68, will hold about 3,000 pounds per anchor. A lot of landscapers use them to hold trees up when they plant them. But they're just a one-way anchor, like a toggle bolt. You drive them in with a rebar, and you pull them, and the bolt flips, and then it can't pull out. So they're wrapped around the fiber roll. We usually would encase them in some protective, like even a garden hose, as you wrap around the fiber roll, because the cable's only about 3/8, 3/16, and if the fiber rolls move at all, the cable saws through, and then you've got noodles all over the place, and you don't want that. So you spread out the securing force by encasing the cable in like a garden hose to hold it better. Those are every 3 feet. So the key is to keep the rolls tight. So you need force behind them to keep the anchors tight. That's why you fill behind them. And if everything stays nice and tight, and they're adjustable, you can go back after a storm, and if you need to retighten a few of them, you can do that. Are any of you familiar with Seth Wilkinson's living shoreline designs? He uses them a lot on the Cape. He's a CERT, Certified Ecological Restoration, a CERP, I guess, professional. He has what I call fiber rolls on steroids, and it's a patented design, so I can't copy it. But this is the next best approach. So they're anchored every 3 feet with stainless steel cables that go 5 feet into virgin soil. Each row, and every 3 feet.
Okay. How would you drive them 5 feet in?
Use an electric jackhammer. Now, so this is sort of a joke, but I'm a consultant, so I provide services, but I don't do any work. But I watch a lot of these being put in. So a lot of companies, you can do it by hand, and it's a pain in the butt. But they get an electric jackhammer on a piece of rebar, and the duckbill anchor has a place where the rebar can go into it. They push it in, and they pull the rebar out, yank the cable, flips, and then it's set.
All right, are there any other comments?
I've just got kind of a general question.
Sure.
Since you're a coastal engineer, you know, we're constantly told that the source of all our problems here in these coastal towns is the way that the coast has been hardened, you know, with seawalls and riprap and all that. We've got a situation here where we don't have any hardening. The coil logs, aren't they, you know, they're just a softer form of hardening. They're still creating a hard point, aren't they, that you can have scour and erosion?
Yeah, fiber rolls have long been considered what we call soft solutions. And they are suitable for erosion control in low wave energy environments. They're not, even though we've used them, they're only because of the limits of the regulations. They're not suitable, for instance, in a velocity zone where you get constant wave action against them. And yes, they biodegrade. That's why they've been usually environmentally friendly, because they're more of a natural solution. As I said, they're not permanent. In my world, if I had the choice to do revetments instead of fiber rolls, I would happily do that, because they're once and done, and they perform the same function by creating a barrier which sediment can't pass through, or shorefront protection. In this case, we're kind of using them in reverse. We want to keep the sand from going through them rather than protect from waves from the ocean. But they work both ways. It's a natural site. I would agree with you that a lot of the coastline has been altered by man, and now we're just sort of dealing with it as best we can.
But Mr. Shanahan's problem is access to the boat ramp, that it's getting flooded out, right?
Well, it's part of it. The issue is, my sand is going in the Cut River and Green Harbor every day, which is probably not good for everybody else. It's also causing me to lose my beach, but there is a physical limitation about getting onto the dock, because it's now hip high as opposed to grounded as it was built.
I mean, I don't know if this is any part of the answer, because it doesn't answer the sand getting washed out, but to extend the ramp a little bit that'd be a much easier solution, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Remember, part of this solution was to help protect the marsh that's still there. So we thought we were doing a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know the answer. I'm asking questions to try to learn a little bit.
Ask away.
I have one additional question. So the volume that's proposed to be
203 yards.
yeah, was that calculated using the cross-section that was on the plan?
Yeah.
Okay, so the cross-section is probably at one of the narrower parts of the filling. And I'd be curious if it wasn't calculated with like a full, if it was just on the cross-section that's provided, the section AA, I'd be curious to have this recalculated utilizing a longer cross-section.
So I just use the section line that's in AA.
Right, and then you did
Area-
volume,
area times
multiplied
length.
it by the length, yeah.
The length is key.
Yeah.
So what I did when I determined the length was I draw a polyline. So I do all my own drafting.
Yep,
I draw a polyline in a curve, and I measure the length of that line. So that whole section is arrayed in a circle for the length of whatever that polyline curve is. So
Yeah,
at the moment of the survey, it would be pretty accurate. So one storm changes all that.
I'm less concerned about that.
Yeah.
The cross-section, I don't believe is at the longest. Your area on the cross-section isn't the largest area that you could have if you put the cross-section, you rotated it kind of 45 degrees or 30 degrees. You'd have a longer cross-section, result in a larger area, and ultimately your calculation would be a lot more filled. Now, I don't know if that impacts the filing really at all. It probably doesn't.
It's a best estimate based of the time of the survey, which was
Yeah.
about a year ago at this point, because it takes so long to get anything done. So even now, the 203 it's probably more than that.
Yeah.
And if I could recalculate it now, and in one storm, the number's going to be different.
I'm less concerned about the existing conditions changing. I'm saying the calculation on this plan, I think, is wrong. That's
Well,
what
I'm going to disagree with you, but I've been doing this a long time, and I'm
Yeah.
usually pretty accurate. The surveyor can go in and draw a whole nother surface and create a volume and all of that. You know, they can do it entirely mechanically, but that number is still going to not reflect what we have today.
Right. Yeah, I think if that number that you just mentioned
Yes.
is 320 cubic yards, I think that should be represented on the plan. I understand it could be 500 today if that we had
It won't be that much,
if
but
we had a high tide tomorrow that wiped out an additional area.
Yep.
It's going to change. I understand that. I just think the 200 number is not. I'm having a tough time agreeing that the calculation is right shown on this because the cross-section that you utilized wasn't the longest length of cross-section in that filter.
well, as an engineer, we use the best available data, and sometimes you have to estimate, what you have.
Yeah.
So I'll stand behind that at the time the survey was done, that number is reasonably accurate. Now, it could be 50 yards different.
Okay. And then my other
But there's no way to know that until you start putting the sand back.
Right. My other comment, I guess, is based on everything that we have provided to us thus far, I'm having a difficult time understanding that this project or proposal results in a net benefit to the resource areas. The only thing I've really heard that the benefit of this is potential sand eroding or continuing to erode, resulting in potential shellfish habitat being potentially destroyed downriver. That's the only really argument we've heard that
And
is
the
a
salt-
benefit.
And the existing salt marsh. Because as this flanking erosion continues, it's going to eat from behind and in front, and you're going to start breaking off and losing salt marsh permanently unless somebody decides to fix it. So that, and you can already see on the south side where it's broken, or it's breaking off.
Yeah.
That's going to continue, you're going to have a loss of marsh. And for me, that's like one of the number one benefits is we're protecting the salt marsh from future erosion. So yes, there's twofold benefits to this. And as you say, if the sediment, it never stays where you put it, so whatever's in the Cut River now is going to continue to move out to the other guy's dock out further and then out into the river, and eventually the town's going to have to dredge it. So it's a win-win, really. If this is done right and maintained, only the soil that's out there now is going to move around, and hopefully not much else gets introduced into the area.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I just have a very difficult time, based on the information, maybe I'll visit the site and review it further.
A long way to.
Yeah, it probably will. But I have a really difficult time viewing this project as not trying to get the ramp to a better position for accessibility. And I could be completely wrong, but that's how I'm viewing this right now with the information that I've reviewed. I certainly can come visit, and my opinion might differ, but.
I'm not saying this to create an adverse position, but
Yeah.
it is hard to judge this project from a desk.
I'm sure.
You have to get out there, look at the photos from years ago. There are photos in this filing from 5 years ago. Print them out, look at the difference. You cannot judge this project if you haven't been out there. And we're happy to join you whenever you want.
So, another question for you.
Yeah,
Sorry about the grilling.
I'm used to it.
Were the rolls themselves included in that fill calculation?
No, it's the fill behind.
Okay,
I
but
drew the poly line behind the rolls. You can't see it because I don't turn that on in the plan, but
okay, but the fiber rolls themselves would be considered fill to be added to that.
I guess, but the plan shows 203 cubic yards of nourishment, and that's the fill that's behind the fiber rolls.
Okay, but on the plan, you should also add the volume of the rolls.
We can do that.
And also the resource area in front of the current shoreline is actually tidal flat.
It's what?
Tidal flat.
Okay, that could be an overlap of areas, but by definition, coastal beach is land between, above the mainland water line. So I agree, it could be more than one, it can be more than one resource area. All of this is land subject to coastal home flowage, which is also a resource area, so there is some overlap. I'm not going to disagree with you there.
Okay. I guess I'm going to propose that we continue this hearing.
Mm-hmm. We don't have we don't even have a date for ZBA, right? You guys deal with that more than we do. About how much time do you think it takes? If we filed ZBA either today or tomorrow or very soon, about how long have they been taking to hear and make a decision? A month?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's a list of your next meetings moving forward? What meetings do you have in August?
So there's an August 6th meeting and an August 20th meeting.
I think it'd probably go for the 20th, because, just to be safe. Is that okay with you all?
Yeah. And I would try to come up with a plan that seems
Say again?
try to come up with a different plan that addresses the comments from DMF and DEP.
Well, I need to get new comments from DMF, and then I'll address what they want to say, but
So have you already responded to them, or are you going to?
I did, so I took the email they gave to me, and I replied to everyone, so Mike and others should be on it. You'll see my response. So, like I said, while I appreciate that they jumped in, I emailed them today and said, hey, by the way, the meeting's tonight. So while I appreciate it, they jumped a little too fast. So I can email them back if you like, respond to that and say, hey, we're continued to August 20th now, so take your time and go through it thoroughly, and then let us know what you think.
Okay. I guess I'll make a motion to, oh, yes. Did I not ask for public comment? Any comments from the public on Zoom?
I
I had a question.
Yes, sure, go ahead.
I'm Harry Klebanoff, 52 Assumption Road. I'm not an engineer, but some of the data from Woods Hole that was published in 2024, one of the things that they accented was that any kind of structures really aren't going to save Marshfield. Marshfield was designated as a place where, with climate change, with sea level rise, with the flooding that's happened in the past, that the best thing we can do is try to adapt to it. And we're not going to change what's going to happen. So my concern about this project, based on what I heard from Leslie Fields at Woods Hole, is that the effort has the possibility of having a very negative impact on marine life, species migration. I would defer to DMF and Greg DeCesar. But I would just want to make sure that we're not fighting a battle that can't be won and ruining it for marine life, et cetera, in the meantime. That's all.
One of the comments in the DMF letter was a time of year restriction, which I see on all of my projects. It's different for different areas, but basically January 15th to April or May 30th, because of migrating alewife and other fish that go up the Cut River and things like that. That's pretty standard. I'm not worried about that.
They have February 1st to June 30th.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different wherever. I can't keep them all in my head, but it's different wherever you are. So we'll see what they say. Anything else you'd like me to address? Or you were about to make a motion, sorry.
Yeah, so I was going to make a motion that we continue the hearing to August 20th, that you come back with a new plan that reflects the comments that we received from the different agencies, and also shows the Chapter 91 line on here. Since
What do you mean by the Chapter 91 line?
there's a line that you can add.
Huh?
There's a line that shows the limits of the Chapter 91 permit zone that you can add. You're going to need a Chapter 91 permit from Waterways.
For the nourishment, not for the fiber rolls, but for the nourishment, yes.
You'll need a Chapter 91 permit from Waterways for the entire structure that you're proposing.
Yes, because it's fill below the mean high water line. Their jurisdiction is to the mean high water line. So, yes, you need a, it's actually not a license, it's a permit for beach nourishment. Yes.
Okay, but it's not really beach nourishment. Just, I know you're calling it that, but it's not really beach nourishment. It's just fill in the floodplain.
Potato, I mean, I think it's beach nourishment. You're re-nourishing a beach, hopefully back to where it used to be. And you have to fill to do that. So it's however you want to term it. As far as the revised plan go, I would hold off on requiring that for now. Let's see what happens when we go through zoning, see what happens from DMF. If the comments are concrete enough that we can revise the plan, okay, fine, I can do that. I'm happy to do that. But if they're a little wishy-washy, we may want to hear what you guys have to say based on what they have to say before we spend time and effort revising a plan that may have to turn around and revise again. I hate doing things twice.
Okay.
So I would suggest, let's just continue it to the 20th, see what everybody says, and we'll come back and deal with it then.
All right.
Please.
Okay, and also recalculate your your cubic yards to reflect the cross-section being in the longer part of the area, and include the rolls themselves into that calculation.
And include the fiber rolls in that point.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if
Look
you,
into it.
and a spec for the fill,
I'm still having a hard time hearing you.
a specification for the fill,
Such
Meaning
as, meaning,
grain size.
Yeah,
There's different grain sizes of sand.
there are. Generally, for nourishment projects, you want the coarser side of the sand. And for water quality certificates and things like that, they want it to have less than 10% fines. Other than that, if you get sand from a more local pit, it's the same sand that's probably out there now from the same glacier and all of that. But, that could also be a special condition in the approval, that you do a sieve analysis of the beach, and then you do a sieve analysis of the pit, and you compare the two. They never match, but they can be close.
Okay, we'll do it,
But that's down
come
the
up
road.
with a specification that you will match.
Yeah, I can tell you what I would say is just it's got to be compatible with what's there, and it can be deemed compatible with a sieve analysis. That's the common way to solve that issue.
No, you have to.
Take a sample of the beach and take a sample, and you make sure they match enough.
So take a sample of the beach and present that on your plan with a grain size analysis. You don't want to lose the sand, and you don't want to put sand that's incompatible
Correct.
with.
Correct. That's usually handled with a special condition after approval.
No,
You
it's
have
not.
to do that.
No, it's not. It's put forth in your proposal.
So do you want me to take a sieve of the beach, have that analyzed, and then?
I don't know what you need to do.
I
I'm not-
do.
Okay, then do it so that you can prevent the.
I understand,
present this back.
I understand the goal of your question, okay? The goal is to make sure that we match, whatever nourishment gets placed on the beach matches as closely as possible to the sand that's there. You don't want a lot of fines, because they wash out. You don't want
Correct.
very coarse sand, because that doesn't, although it's better for nourishment, because it stays, it's different than what's there. So you want it to match. I don't see the need to do that now. It has to be done before you do any work. You have to do that before you do any work, and that would be a requirement in the order of conditions to sample the beach and then make sure that the
Well,
sample that you're going to get, because we
If
don't know
we
where
can't
it's going to come
approve,
from.
we can't approve the project unless we know what you're placing there,
Where the source is?
what the grain size is.
Specify grain size.
Okay. I'm sorry, respectfully, that doesn't accomplish anything. You just know what's on the beach for now, but the real goal is to find a pit that matches it. If you want me to do that ahead of time, we can try and do that.
I'm not asking you to find a pit. I'm just asking you to specify what material you're going to place there,
Okay,
that you're proposing to place there, because we can't just approve fill without knowing what it is.
okay, so the fill will just have to match the sieve sample to some extent.
It will have to have a grain size that associated with it.
Yep, okay. We can get the beach sampled.
Okay. All right. Can I have a second for that motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. You are continued to August
August.
20th. May I have one of your paper clips?
The towns.
Okay. Next, we have SE 31, well, I'm going to do this one, and we'll do that last, because I don't think anybody's here. SE 3125, 17 Oregon Road. This is a continued hearing. Mr. Malafronte is the hearing officer, and I think I see Mr. Powell there. Do you want to present anything to us?
Mr. Powell, are you on? I see you're on the Zoom. I'm not sure if you have us tuned in right now.
Is he muted from us or from himself?
I don't know how to tell the difference.
Mike, can you
There it is.
unmute?
Okay, can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening. So I was just gonna ask for the commission to take a vote tonight. I don't have anything additional to present. We did do some preliminary soil samples. And it wasn't worth spending any more money or a report because it's like most of the lots in the neighborhood. It's the same sand, the same sediment and all the projects that are going out in the neighborhood that have been going on for the last 4 years, or several years, I should say. So with that said, I was, just wanted to review how this all came together. And that I originally sat down with my designer, Dick Rockwood, and also Andrew Stewart, who's also the building commissioner and the floodplain manager of Marshfield, from day one. And I asked them what I was able to do if my property was in an A1 flood zone and not a beach area, a barrier beach area. And they all, being professionals, told me that I wouldn't be subject to whether I had to do soil samples like the rest of my neighbors in my neighborhood that haven't been required to do sample areas. And then at the last meeting, I think it was John O'Donnell, asked John Zimmer if there were 6 areas he could address, whether my lot was acting as a dune. And John addressed all those 6 areas, and my lot is not acting like a dune. Even though it has sand on it, doesn't necessarily mean it's a dune. And John addressed all those areas. And after spending $40,000 listening to 3 professionals, one a professional of the town of Marshfield, who's also the floodplain manager, who, told us we should be subject to this. Dick Rockwood, who's been doing designs in the town of Marshfield for many years, also includes that, and also John Zimmer, who also does a lot of work in the town of Marshfield, which I'm sure you all respect his work. And at the end of the day, as I said, the last meeting was, what else can we offer? We don't have anything to offer. Beyond that, we want to do, soil samples. I did preliminary soil samples. I didn't want to spend any more money because it is sand, just like all the other lots in the area. And I've been told that just because you have sand in a lot doesn't mean it's a dune or it's acting like a dune, or you shouldn't be able to build on it. And then in closing, I'm just going to ask you all kindly to take a vote so I know where I stand. And then I'll decide what my next step is when it comes to whether to do a new design or to appeal it to the state. But that's where I am now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
With that being said, with no additional information presented to us, based on all the information we have for the project and have been provided from, I think, CZM as well as Mike and I think all the commissioners have been to the site at least, most of us have at least. I'll make a motion to deny the order of conditions based on lack of information.
What is the lack of
Without
information?
prejudice.
Without prejudice. And can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So, Mr. Powell, we had required you to bring us additional information proving that your plan would have no adverse impact on a primary dune, which is per se significant to the Wetlands Protection Act. In denying without prejudice, because we did not get that information, you are free to reapply whenever you want. We're not holding you up for 2 years when you deny with prejudice, but we would need to see you come in either with evidence that there is no adverse impact or a different design.
And that's not what I was originally told. What I was told is I need to do soil samples at the last meeting. Is that not correct?
That was to prove there was no adverse impact. You have been on our agenda since December, and we have...
You didn't answer the question, please. Was I not told that I had to do soil samples at the last meeting?
We wanted you to do soil samples to prove there was no adverse impact. We never received, excuse me, we never received any soil samples from you. Okay, after the last meeting, we have never heard from you again. We have a policy on this commission that if an applicant asks for continuations 3 times, and we get no additional information, we will deny without prejudice. We have continued this hearing probably a dozen times. So you have had an ample opportunity to prove what we asked you to prove, and we have not seen that.
So can I ask a question, please?
Sure.
So I had sample soils done, preliminary. I can provide those to you, but what I'm asking tonight is for the board to take a vote.
We just took a vote, and we denied you.
Okay, you said denied without prejudice.
Denied without prejudice gives you the option to reapply at any time. If we merely denied you straight out, you would have a 2-year moratorium before you could reapply.
Yeah. I would like you to take a vote if that's possible.
We did.
I don't want it without prejudice. I want an actual vote. Is that possible?
You had an actual vote, and we had a motion to deny without prejudice. It was seconded, and we voted unanimously on that.
So can I take this vote to the state? Or in the
Yes, you can. Yes, you
Okay,
can.
that's what I'm asking for.
Yep, you are
That's what I'm-
free to appeal to the state.
That's what I was asking for. Sorry.
Nope, that's fine. You can appeal to the state, or you can reapply, but if you want to appeal to the state, you are free to do that.
Okay, that's, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do, but I wanted to get a vote so I know the next thing.
I believe that if it's denied without prejudice, I'm not positive that they
That he can appeal?
that. But they can refile and resubmit a permit request.
That's what I don't wanna do. I wanted to get a vote.
Okay, we gave you a vote.
You gave me a vote without prejudice, and Mike is saying something different, so what is real?
No,
Well-
the denial without prejudice is a motion and a vote by the commission, which was unanimously approved. The denial without prejudice differs from a regular denial because a denial without prejudice allows you to reapply essentially immediately, whereas a straightforward denial, that one sets a 2-year moratorium on applications for the same scope of work.
So, just to be clear on this, Mike, you're telling me I can appeal to the state?
I think you would need to confer with an attorney. We can't definitively state that, I don't think.
So you're advising me to do things, and you're not even sure what I should be doing?
We're doing what you asked us to do. We took a vote, we denied without prejudice. You may act accordingly. We don't give legal advice here.
Well, if you need the soil sample to get a real vote, I'll provide that.
No,
to you.
we voted, we're done. This hearing is
Yeah.
closed.
It is close. You know, Chairman Hanafin, you are the most unprofessional person. You have no personality. You have no,
I muted Mr. Powell.
That's okay.
I think that's a requirement.
Thank you for your comments. Okay. Now we need to go back to our first hearing, which was 915 Ocean Street.
That's Mr. Patel.
Yes.
Okay. This is,
He has two screens open or something.
Sorry, Mr. Patel, I'm going to mute you until you're ready to speak because there seems to be some issue with our feedback where we're hearing our own voices coming through the audio. So feel free to unmute yourself once it's time for the applicant comments.
Okay. So this is a after-the-fact RDA, correct? So the property owner repaved a portion of the property without permitting. It's in land subject to coastal storm flowage and buffer zone. So the enforcement, there was an enforcement order in 2018 that the owners had cut a large area of the wetlands behind the property, and they were ordered to put up conservation markers and provide monitoring reports, and that has never been done. So the enforcement order is still outstanding until the monitoring reports and Concom markers have been completed. But seeing as how it's been repaved without monitoring or markers, we can issue the after-the-fact RDA with some conditions that plantings be done. Is this a planting plan, Mike?
Yes, for that enforcement order from 2018, which was before Mr. Patel came into possession of this property, there was a planting plan here noted on the screen, as well as a number of conservation markers, 5 conservation markers, roughly off the edge of pavement there towards the rear of the property.
Okay, so this area is still, it's not paved currently, right?
The area for the planting plan is not paved.
Okay.
No, that was left untouched. Essentially, the area that was repaved was previously paved. They essentially resurfaced the parking lot.
Okay, so what we're gonna ask the applicant to do to resolve this outstanding enforcement order is to put up the conservation markers, but since the vegetation is currently just phragmites, and it's not what was on the planting plan, are we gonna ask him to remove that and plant what was in the plan originally?
That would be the option now, as phragmites have grown in. The only way to implement this planting plan from 2018 would be to cut the phragmites and plant in that area.
Okay. I'm not 100% sure that that would do more good.
I concur.
Okay. So I think at this point, we can resolve the enforcement order by just requesting that the applicant puts up the conservation markers and leaves the vegetation in place. And for the monitoring report, I guess just provide one report that says the vegetation has become reestablished naturally. Mr. Patel, can you hear me?
Yes.
So,
Dave.
did you know? Sorry.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I think he heard me. Okay. Do any other commissioners have any? Can you mute him, Mike?
Yeah, just.
He must have two sources of
Yeah.
volume going.
Okay. Do we have any other comments, Mike, from the commissioners? No, or from Mike, I'm sorry.
Yeah, my comments would be to install the conservation markers, the 5 markers as noted on this planting plan. Ensure best management practices are followed, obtain all pertinent permits, and to seek guidance from myself or the agent for any work beyond the approved work activities.
Okay. Any other comments from public? Hearing none? From the commissioners? All right, well then I'm going to make a motion that we close the hearing and issue a DOA with a +5 and a -2. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Okay, you're all set.
Thank you. Have a good one. Thank you.
Okay. SC 3147 has requested to be withdrawn. Do we just withdraw? Do we have to?
It never opened, right?
It never opened, so,
If it never opened, I don't believe we have to create a motion.
We have to-
Withdraw it since it was never opened.
okay. And we have one continuation, which is SE 423131, 91 Old Colony Lane has requested continuation to September 17th. Sorry, Sam, I didn't know if you knew that or not, so I'm just going to move that we continue that to September 17th. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, I'm going to take the business out of order because I see we have people who have been very patiently waiting here, and I see Attorney Creed. Would you like to present what you have on Arlietta Street?
With me tonight are the Rogers. So I hope you all have the proposed amended superseding restriction that I submitted late today. The changes that I made, what I did was I took the original that was on file as a PDF, converted it to Word, and made those changes so that there wasn't any typing error by me. There still were two, and Stenbeck and Taylor caught me misspelling Arletta Street. What I've changed are the heading. I've added amended and superseding. I added the book and page of the Rogers deed. After the recording reference for the original 2011 restriction, after page 262, I've added all of the language that's after that. The restriction itself is the same, but for the addition of 3 words, below elevation 11 feet. I believe that this reflects what the true intent was of the order of conditions that issued for SE 422329. Condition F read, the garage floor shall be at elevation 11 feet above mean sea level, MSL, in parens, or above unless a restriction that is acceptable to the commission is recorded on the deed of the property that permanently prohibits the use of the structure as living space. So I think the intent was that, because this was a slab garage, that elevation is at 5 feet. So I think the intent at the time, as best I can discern it, was that the garage not be used for living space at that elevation. Obviously, you can't use a garage at elevation 11, because then you'd have to build a ramp to get up to it. So I think that it's just poor language is all for what the true intent was, that no habitable space be developed below 11 feet. The commission has already approved this project and then had to disapprove it based on the existence of this restriction. I'm hopeful that this restriction resolves the problem to your satisfaction. I know you probably want to run it by town council, to be sure. I've also submitted it to First American Title Insurance to make sure that they're okay with it, so that the Rogers don't face any title issues going forward. So subject to those two caveats, and I know the Zoning Board of Appeals approved the plans last night, and we're fully aware, Andrew Stewart made them aware of this issue. So I'm sure they're going to want to hear back. So with that having been said, and not want to beat the dead horse, I'd love your input as to whether you think this is an appropriate solution.
What year was the original application when this restriction was placed?
I don't know when it was applied, but it was recorded and approved in 2011.
Okay, so, I mean, long before Marshfield has agreed to allow ADUs.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I can also tell you that, according to Stenbeck and Taylor, we talked late today, the flood level in this area is at 9. So by keeping it, I debated whether to modify that, but it just seems simpler to leave it at 11. Typically, a garage above its floor is 10 feet, so that'll put the habitable space roughly at 15, which is well above 11 and well above the 9 flood level in the area. And it would allow accommodation for the new ADU statute.
Do any commissioners have comments on this?
Was this common practice prior to all of this occurring, to have a restriction in our orders like that?
Have a restriction?
Was it common practice to have a deed restriction or request a deed restriction for something like this? Like, is that something we're going to come across?
I've never come across
You've
it.
seen more of them than us, but I don't recall a deed.
Yeah, this is an oddity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the odd-shaped lot with the garage in the corner, kind of?
Yeah.
Foundation.
And the only thing that was ever built with the slabs with the flood vents.
Yeah.
It's been redesigned. They're adding additional flood vents to comply with the current regulations. And obviously the ADU will be above, so roughly 15 feet high off the ground. But yes, this is an oddity.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as the Rogers is concerned, it's the most expensive 3 words they've ever had to pay for.
Yeah, I'm sure.
2 words and a number.
Well, welcome to homeownership, yeah. I have no issue with this, but I do need Attorney Galvin to sign off. And if you can contact him.
Yes,
Tomorrow,
absolutely.
Mike, and assuming he has no issue, we are set.
And assuming I get an answer tomorrow or in a day
Or
or
as
two
soon as
from
possible.
title insurance, if
And title
they have any
insurance.
suggested changes, I'll share those directly with Mike and Attorney Galvin.
Thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
All right. But otherwise, it looks good.
Yeah, it does.
'Cause
Anybody?
I have
see
fretting
anything?
homeowners behind me.
Yeah, I understand. I've been there. Many of us have been there, and I'm sorry you had to wait so long for a fairly simple matter, but it was a long night. Yeah.
It was quite entertaining.
That's
In
what
cer-
we were
in
saying.
certain parts.
So, yeah, if you can call Bob in the morning.
Absolutely.
And get that rolling, and so I'm going to make a motion that pending approval from town council, we agree to this amended and superseding restriction. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Just one footnote, it doesn't have anything to do with this. The only thing I can possibly imagine that the title insurance company may want is some language that gets rid of the old restriction. I think
Yeah.
this does that, but they, they're
They may want,
sticklers.
yeah.
They may want something specific that one is,
Well, if they do, write it up.
I'm gonna have them write it up. So
Right.
I'm not gonna take responsibility for
And
that.
run it past, and
I will.
take another look, but,
Great,
yeah.
excellent. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry for waiting. It's a long time.
Okay, where are we now? All right. You want, take a quick break here? All right, we got that done. 278 Ocean Street, changing grass to gravel. This looks pretty straightforward to me. We had grass, gravel is pervious. Mike, do you have any?
Yeah, they already had a section of gravel out in the front yard. They just wanted to expand it. And notices of intent where people propose a gravel area, it's just kind of captured in the as-built with no further permitting needed. This doesn't change the grade or anything like that. The applicant's seeking a de minimis decision.
I have no problem with that. Anybody have any comments or? Okay, I'm going to move that we grant de minimis permission for 278 Ocean Street to replace some of the grass with gravel for the purpose of parking. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. I'm going to take some of these a little bit out of order. We're going to do the airport discussion last. I just want to note the CZM Salt Marsh Restoration Letter. I had the North and South Rivers Watershed approach me after our last meeting. They had a deadline to apply for this grant, and they asked for a letter from this commission in favor of that, which I wrote, and I just want to put it into the record now, since you haven't seen this. I'm just going to quickly read it. The North and South Rivers Watershed Association and Mass Bay's South Shore are applying for funds to continue their work to determine salt marsh retention potential across the South Shore of Massachusetts. Their most recent study resulted in a prioritization of marsh units for restoration, and Marshfield's Green Harbor site was selected as a site with short-term needs and opportunities. I am writing to support NSRWA's application for funds through CZM's Coastal Habitat and Water Quality Grant. Marshfield is an aptly named coastal community given the extensive salt marshes that exist here. These marshes are significant to almost every interest of the Wetlands Protection Act, especially flood control, storm damage prevention, protection of land-containing shellfish, and protection of fisheries and wildlife habitat. Given the increasing intensity of pressure caused by sea level rise and climate change, the ability of salt marshes to function properly is critical to the health and safety of our community. As a coastal community on the South Shore, Marshfield is already experiencing impacts from sea level rise and climate change. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with NSRWA and Mass Bays to develop a well-informed restoration plan that will help us better understand what is possible at the Green Harbor Marsh. Since local permitting can be a concern with salt marsh restoration, I will work with the watershed and Mass Bays to educate our town on the benefits of this work, including providing a platform for outreach at a local meeting during the course of the grant. Regards, Craig Hannafin, Marshfield Conservation Commission Chair. So, just so you know, we have signed on for that. And now I'm going to let Mr. Finn come up here, because both of our remaining business items concern mostly him.
I want to move as far away from this air conditioner as I can. I was going to sit next to Mike.
That's freezing cold.
It really is.
Yeah, it is.
Wearing
Getting colder, I think, too.
sweatshirts.
Yeah, it is.
It's freezing.
You reminded me, I brought another layer and I'm putting it on.
My name is William Finn. I am appearing here tonight as a consultant to the Conservation Commission. How would you like to proceed?
Why don't you tell us about the airport?
Okay. I believe online, I have some assistants. Craig Schuster from ASG, who's the airport engineer, Joe Rogers from GZA, an environmental consultant. I think Dana Altabello from Merrill, who you know, is on, and John Santos, who's the foreman for Lawrence Lynch, is the contractor doing the work at the airport. I think they're all online, but maybe we won't need them. We'll see.
Bill, this is Craig. I don't think Dana could make it tonight.
Okay, that's okay. You can handle what might come up with him. That was Craig Schuster, by the way. I'm going to discuss three separate issues this evening, three separate changes to the original plans that were submitted to you going back to December 12th, 2022, when this project was approved. The project was designed to reconstruct aprons in the access road and improve drainage at the airport, and it's a result of DEP findings in terms of an order of conditions that required the airport, when they got the money, to perform these changes at the airport, particularly regarding drainage. There are three issues that we'd like to discuss tonight involving the storm drainage improvements, or so-called, I'll refer to them as so-called pocket wetlands, which are really vegetated detention basins, but they're stormwater facilities, and they're referred to as pocket wetlands. This first picture that you see up here is a taxiway, and the grass strip to your right, my left, is the area that we'll be talking about in terms of installing a pocket wetland, which is really a detention basin, a fancy detention basin. The second picture on this screen is a picture of a plane. Now, this taxi lane is used by aircraft, to taxi to the hangar, which is to the rear of that plane. So what he would do would be back his plane into the hangar, and they use that taxi lane to get back and forth between the various parts of the airport that they have to go to, the taxiway out to the runway. And so you can see that that taxi lane does not provide him much maneuvering room between him and the hangar behind him. So that they, in order to maneuver, they pull out onto that grassy strip that's out there. The problem is, and one of the reason that we're here tonight is that when the original design was done, pocket wetland number 1 was designed to abut directly next to that paved surface. so that there would be no grass strip for the plane to maneuver out onto, so he could back up. He would run his the aircraft into the pocket wetland. Mike, can you show the next slide, please? This is the original design for the pocket wetland, and that is where that butts right up against the pavement for that taxi lane. So the project that we're talking about tonight is moving that to the northwest further onto that grass strip about 13 feet, so that there is a safety strip for that aircraft to maneuver onto and then back up into the hangar. If we don't move it, there could be some serious problems with aircraft driving into maneuvering into the pocket wetland. So the next slide shows you what the new new design is. That's moved 13 feet to the northwest, and while it looks a little bit bigger than the other pocket wetland, it's actually smaller by some 224 square feet. And it is designed to comply with the DEP stormwater regulations. That's why the design configuration has changed a little bit. But it's actually a little smaller than the previous design by 224 square feet. And we want to move it 13 feet away toward the northwest to provide that safety strip. Now, if that's not much of a problem, because it's just moving it onto the grass strip. It's not moving it into a wetland or anything. In fact, it's creating a wetland. But it does initiate other issues in terms of trying to get equipment to it to build this pocket wetland, number one. The original design did not consider the fact that equipment was going to have to move through parts of the airport that would possibly present conflicts with aircraft. So the contractor from Lawrence Lynch has suggested that they would like to build a temporary structure, temporary bridge across this drainage structure, which is part of the approved project. This drainage structure, I'm just showing you this is a drainage ditch that is being revised to allow these pipes to be installed to improve the drainage. This is all part of the original design that's been approved. This is at the end of the existing pipe where the head wall may be going, and looking toward the area where we want to cross with a temporary bridge to reach that grass strip so we can build pocket wetland number one without presenting conflict of equipment with aircraft coming in from the other end of the airport. This drainage ditch that's being constructed right now, or that's being cleared and constructed right now, abuts to your right the access road to this part of the airport. So there's a roadway that you can't see here, but that's the access road out to the airport. That's part of what's this project, improving that as part of this project as well. This next slide shows you the proposed temporary bridge structure. It's that small black square above the red, what looks like a bridge in the lower right where Mike has the cursor. That black square is what's pictured to the left in the center. Is a cross section of it, and it's
constructed with not 16-foot-long wooden crane mats, which are those black squares. They're 16 feet in length, and they're buried into the side of the drainage ditch. That's what those mats look like. That's the butt end of the mats. And then you can see them from the side in the next picture. That's what the side of those mats look like. They'll be buried into the side of the drainage ditch, and then they will be topped with road plates, which are 20 feet by 8 feet in width, steel road plates, and that's what will form the surface of the bridge so that equipment can cross that drainage ditch from the access road to the area where we want to build pocket wetland number 1, which is again 13 feet deeper into that grass strip. That describes the project. I think what the next photo shows the species of vegetation that are likely to be encountered in this in the drainage ditch itself when they put this thing in. This thing is probably going to be about 30 feet wide when it's all done. I mean, the disturbance will be about 30 feet wide because they have to get in there with equipment and clear it out. But once it's completed, the construction is completed, the bridge will be removed, the beams will be removed, and the vegetation will be allowed to grow back. So it's a temporary measure to avoid conflict. It's a safety issue, and it's only a temporary situation. This next photo is the third issue that we're going to talk about this evening. And this involves another pocket wetland number 3. The red square of the, not square, but the rectangle that you see up there represents the platform which fuel trucks pull up onto to refuel or to transfer fuel from the fuel storage area, which is depicted to your left. It's to your left of the red
Right.
rectangle. That's where the trucks pull up onto, and that's where the fuel exchange takes place. Some fuel is pumped in, some is pumped out. That is you on this plan, you can see to your left a wetland line down on the Mike, if you can put the cursor on that dotted line down to the left. Yeah, see that wetland in there?
Ah, yeah.
It's to your right.
Ah, yes, the wetland flags here.
That's the wetland area
Yeah.
there. That's the original, that fuel facility was built back, I don't know, maybe 5-6 years ago. It was permitted. And then those wetlands are about 55 feet away from the edge of that fuel parking, the area, that red rectangle where the trucks park. That's the original setup. Now, if you go to the next slide, Mike. This is a picture of the new pocket wetland number 3, which is being constructed. That picture I took the day before yesterday. And you can see it's a fairly complex pocket wetland with a lot of different weirs, et cetera, that are going to be installed in it to provide for treatment of stormwater. However, on the left-hand side, which you're looking at, it abuts right up against the edge of that platform. So if you could show the next slide, Mike. You can see that's the edge of the platform, and that's where the pocket wetland is. So this new pocket wetland, which didn't exist before now, is being constructed right up against that fuel facility. And my suggestion to you is that you might want to consider development of a deployable oil and fuel absorbent boom, which can be placed in a U-shape around any trucks that come up by the driver during fuel transfer. And that boom, thanks to Jesse, I was able to get some information on these booms, would protect against any potential spill that might occur during fuel transfer, because that wetland now is right there. So if any fuel spills, it's going to probably, there's a good possibility that it might enter the wetland right there. And those, what you see on the screen right there is an example of those booms that I'm recommending. They're enrolled up there, but they can be deployed by the driver. They can be attached to each other. It's a simple thing to deploy. They're not expensive, and they store very well. And it's a belt and suspenders, if you will, to prevent any possibility of fuel getting into that new wetland that's built right next to the platform. Now, the original design, and Craig can speak to this, was graded such that the fuel, if there was a spill, was going to go in the other direction toward the road. It's graded so it wouldn't go toward the wetland. So that's why I refer to this as belt and suspenders, because I've had some experience with fuel spills, and they're not very predictable. And if something happens, that grade is not, in at least, it's pretty level. It's pretty flat, and I'm not sure that some fuel wouldn't make its way into that wetland if it happened, even though it's graded according to the standard requirements. So I'm recommending that the commission, you can see where that wetland is and where that platform ends and where that truck is parked. If there's a spill, this can be, before he starts to transfer fuel, he can deploy this boom around that truck in a U shape around the truck, and it's an absorbent boom, and it would pick up any fuel or oil that's spilled before it hit the wetland.
So these would be deployed every time they transfer fuel?
Yeah, they would be available. The details of this haven't been worked out by any means. You know, I'm not recommending a particular brand that, or anything like that. But it's an idea. Craig and I have talked about it. We just feel it's worthwhile to set it up and make sure that the drivers are aware of how to do it. They're not heavy. They're deployable. So,
can you put them there and leave them there?
Yes, you can. They do, but that wouldn't necessarily be my recommendation. I would probably want to put them in back of those bollards or something like that. But they do stand up to sunlight. They will last, 6 months to a year. They're going to have to be replaced over time, but they're weather resistant. And you could, leave them out there. You could leave them deployed. It's not something I would do, but I think if the drivers, once they get trained, they can do it.
Bill, the pocket wetland, everything just, it's not carried, the stormwater isn't carried anywhere else, it just infiltrates in the wetland there.
There are a bunch of weirs in there, and it's going into the, I think some of it is going into the other wetland that's already existing, is the way it's designed.
Pocket wetlands are typically implemented with high groundwater areas.
Okay.
So they
Yeah.
have micro pools and deep pools, so it allows the water quality volume, like the first flush of runoff,
Right.
to remain in the wetland and basically evaporate, as a wetland kind of does. And then higher storm events, it will go over an outlet control. Weird. I haven't seen the design of this, but that's
Yeah,
typical.
you can see it's still under construction.
Yeah.
The design, there is a design plan.
Usually
as
they're
part of
pretty
this.
well vegetated.
You can, Mike, you want to pull that plan up? I think we have the design. Craig, do you have a plan?
Yeah, you know, Mike, what you just said is correct. It's like you handle the first flush and it's really retention, then the higher storm events eventually goes over weirs and other things and does go into the wetlands. But that is basically the gist of the stormwater treatment systems that we have.
That's not it, no. We don't have, I don't think we have wetland number 3 there, Mike.
I have the full conformed set. Do you know what page it might be on? Like S11, P11?
I think it would be P3,
Okay.
possibly,
I'm satisfied.
on the plans.
My question's been answered.
Typically, they're planted, they're vegetated with wetland plants.
It's a
Like
vegetated wetland.
Yeah.
They will be planted. They will be planted. There's plantings that
They're usually highly efficient for nitrogen removal
Yeah.
and phosphorus and stuff.
I mean, this is right on the water table. I mean, right now, you can see the water table where they're constructing it. There's a couple of places where they're actually in the water table.
Yeah. I believe this is it.
Yeah.
There's a plant list there. Craig, do you want to say anything about this?
No, because we had Merrill design this, and because he specialized in this stuff, so Dana Annabella from Merrill helped us with this thing, so I got nothing more to add to what's already said.
So what we are looking for is some approval from the commission this evening to move ahead with the temporary bridge structure, as I say, which is, temporary, and also the approval to move pocket wetland number 1 13 feet to the northwest in that grass strip, just to get it away from the edge of pavement of the taxi lane.
Is there any issue with downsizing that slightly?
No, it was downsized because of DEP regulations, so it could
Okay.
comply with DEP regulations. That's why it was downsized.
Yeah.
And Merrill did it that way.
Correct, Bill, that is correct. I talked to Dana today about that, and it's all functioning the same way that it was permitted, it's just a different size, but it doesn't affect how we're addressing stormwater at all. It's still
Okay. It looks good to me. Anyone have any questions or comments? I mean,
I could suggest a de minimis change to the site plan to be captured on the as-built site plan.
Yep, that works.
That's fine.
Okay, I move that we approve this as a de minimis change, which will subsequently be reflected on the as-built site plan. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
As far as the fuel absorbent boom, we'll discuss that with the Airport Commission, and we'll let you know. We think they'll do it, but we have to discuss it with them.
Okay.
It's just an idea, and
Seems to make sense. Yeah.
it seems to make sense.
Okay. Okay, I think we're good with that.
Okay. Do you wanted something else?
Well, I want you to go on with House Bill 4110 while you're sitting there.
And what?
Bill and I went to the State House on July 1st to provide testimony in opposition to the elimination of the North River Commission. We were there, Mary Ann Leonard, who is the North River Commission's Marshfield rep, was there. Some people participated on Zoom, and I think we were favorably received. They have another 2 weeks where they are accepting comment. I have notified, there are 6 towns covered by the act. I have notified the conservation commissions of all those towns. We knew, and I think Situate knew, the other towns have no idea this is even taking place. So I gave them the information, and I provided them with both Bill's and my testimony. And we are going to follow it to see where this goes. Do you want to amplify
Hopefully
on
it
that?
goes nowhere.
Hopefully it goes
We
nowhere.
I think that the testimony that was received by the committee was received very well. And the indications that I received, and I think you received as well, Craig, was that this thing's dead on arrival. But you never
Representative
know.
Kearney is still digging in, though.
I saw that. I saw that.
So, we'll see.
But he was, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's still trying to push it, but
Can
So-
add one
not
comment?
going anywhere.
Sure, please.
Last night, the Situate Select Board voted to oppose this bill and send a letter.
Oh, good.
Because the increased load on the Conservation Commission is
Excellent.
One of
And
this-
I know their Conservation Commission also voted in opposition to it. And we voted to send our select board a letter in opposition. And I don't know whether they will touch that or not, but
The new selectwoman in Situate did testify in person on Zoom
okay.
in opposition, but she wasn't speaking for the board.
Right, because the
It was
board
good to
had-
hear that the board voted last night.
Yeah.
That's good.
okay. So we did not hear any testimony in support,
No, there was none.
and I have not encountered anyone who supports this, but I probably wouldn't, not in my circles. Okay, I just want to keep you up on that.
Bill.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you. I'm gonna go get warm.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you, Jesse, for your input on the airport. Okay, we have a couple of COCs here. 11, SE 42, 1162, Constellation Road. The building commissioner says the elevation certificate demonstrates that the utilities were installed in an outside closet and are lower than the first floor elevation, which was prohibited by the orders of conditions.
Yes, typically when that occurs, the mechanicals need to be moved to the same elevation or above that first floor elevation. So it seems like they have some work to do before.
Okay, so we are not going to approve that.
Yes, that's
That will
correct.
get tabled. So that's SE 42, 1162, and 1690, both at 24 Constellation. 485 Pleasant Street, SE 42, 2735. Is that one good to go, Mike?
Yes, that one is good to go.
All right, I move that we approve SE 42, 2735 for a COC. A second, please.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. SE 423058, which is 70 Sawtucket Ave. Are we good on that?
Yes, we have an as-built, and we have no issues with occupancy, so we're
Okay.
okay with that one.
So I move that we approve the COC 470 Sawtucket Avenue. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye. And 23 Richard Road.
We have received an elevation certificate, a final elevation certificate, and the final as-built as well. It appears that the building commissioner did not receive these.
But we did, so,
Yep.
and they are okay?
Yes.
I'm going to move to approve SE 423059 for a COC. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. That concludes our business for this evening, so I move to close the Conservation Commission meeting of July 9th, 2025. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Longish.